Hey, what's up guys? I wanted to go live real quick to walk through the couple pieces that I feel were super important to take away from my trip to Austin. So first of all, I was not traveling with my whole family, wasn't traveling with the 5 kids and the wife. So this is for like, if you're going on any business trips, if you're going on any trips by yourself and you're trying to stay healthy, kind of the mindset that I use to approach it, and then some practical strategies and tips that I use to kind of mitigate the downside. So actually that leads me into the first thing. The first mindset and mentality that I have for those of you who travel, and maybe not, this is not for people who travel every single week, tons and tons and tons throughout each and every single week, because I don't do that, so I can't speak from personal experience on that. The mindset I use when I'm going on trips is actually to just mitigate the downside. So I talk with a lot of our clients about this. Something that I find super encouraging is that when people end up sliding off or falling off the bandwagon or whatever you want to call it, the key is that like you don't gain 5 pounds if you fall off for a week or two, because everybody is going to have 1 or 2 times a year, at least 1 or 2 times a year, maybe 3, maybe 4, but at least 1 or 2 times every single year where you just don't get the workouts in like you should, you just don't eat like you should, you fall off the quote unquote bandwagon, okay? And so my mindset is more like, hey, I love seeing clients who actually don't go backwards, it's just they didn't make any more progress. Right? So if you're traveling and you're thinking, man, I still need to lose these 4 pounds each and every week, like have some realistic expectations. I went into this saying I didn't want to gain weight and I still wanted to feel good during my trip and after my trip. Because here's the second thing that I also know going into trips, going into traveling. Okay, the second thing that I know is that traveling messes with your body. It messes with your physiology, it messes with your mentality, it messes with your sleep schedule. Like you're sleeping in a different bed, you're usually traveling extremely fast in either a car or an airplane. And like, even though you're sitting still and you're not running, you know what I mean? It still does something to your body, your circulation, the air pressure, all of that kind of stuff. The stress that you have from driving. I drove 8.5 hours, got in at 10:30 p.m. last week. So it was a super long day because I'd also gotten up at 3:45 a.m. earlier that day, and then was not able to get a lot of sleep because I had to be up super early the next morning. So that was the second thing that I wanted to make sure you knew. Now, some strategies. Let's just dig into 2 or 3 super simple strategies that you can employ the next time you go travel, okay? The first thing is that after you travel, it's super important that you get in a sweat sesh, okay? Now, what I mean by sweat session is that it doesn't need to be a super hard workout. It doesn't need to be extremely long. It doesn't need to exactly like encompass specific things. I would say that I wouldn't do like a super heavy barbell or dumbbell workout right after it. I would just make sure you got to sweat. So I actually got up early and did Soul Cycle. So I went into the heart of Austin, downtown Austin. I did Soul Cycle. That was an experience in and of itself. But I basically got in a really good sweat. It was also lower impact. And I recommend that when you're traveling is don't be harder on your joints. Usually you're just sitting in the same spot for a long time, either flying or driving. You don't need to go, bang on your joints even more. Usually you're pretty tight. So something that's lower impact would be extremely helpful, especially for the first workout. But getting in a sweat session for at least 10 to 15 minutes, either right when you get in, or if you got in super late like I did, I got in at like 10:30 p.m. Literally the next morning, super early, I got up, because what happens is you're not just like working out to burn calories. No. The actually most important thing that's happening is that you are resetting your body. Right? You're resetting all of your systems, okay? Your metabolism, you're resetting everything. And so when you sweat, you get the toxins out from just sitting there all day, you get the toxins out from whatever you were eating while you were traveling, all of that kind of stuff. And so that's super important to me. And I realized that the other day, you've got to be able to get in a workout where you're going to be able to sweat. Okay, so again, not super like heavy weights, but something where you're gonna sweat a lot, preferably lower impact, okay? The next thing is that when it comes to food, you're gonna probably find yourself in a lot of situations where you can't necessarily control what's gonna be offered to you food-wise, right? So luckily I was at a conference or a workshop and whatever, a mastermind meetup with a bunch of other gym owners. So we were all kind of health-minded, health-conscious, but I still didn't know what was gonna be offered through the catered food. Also, it didn't include the meals of getting to there, driving home, all that kind of stuff. And so what did I do? Instead of eating out, I didn't eat out at all. During the days where we were actually meeting up, there was catered food, but I controlled what I could control. And this is step number 2. I literally went to the grocery store. I went to Dillon's and I got some healthy foods before I even left, okay? For those of you following on my Facebook story, you got to see. I got fresh fruit, Like I got my favorite type of fruits, raspberries, fresh raspberries, and I got Honeycrisp apples. And then I also got protein bars, okay? I got sandwich material, so I got bread, deli meat, and then hummus. And then the last thing was I splurged and I got some tortilla chips, okay? So I went and I bought the food at the grocery store and brought it with me so that I didn't have to rely on stopping anywhere in terms of fast food, restaurants on the drive there and drive back, because 8.5 hours is a long time. Obviously, I got hungry during that time, okay? Also, the third piece that I think is super important that a lot of people forget about. When you're on a plane, when you're driving, okay, you get really, really freaking dehydrated. You do. You don't know it, but you get really dehydrated, okay? And this goes back to number one, where like I just understand there's a lot that's going on with your body and physiology as you are traveling, okay? So what you need to do right when you get there, whether it's the hotel right before you go to bed or the next morning, like you need to chug water. You need to drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water. Make sure that you do that, because that's gonna set you up for failure. If you do not rehydrate after sitting on a plane, being at the changes in altitude, if you do not rehydrate after the long drives, because I don't like to stop when I'm driving except to get gas when I'm at the empty tank. And so I don't really drink any water. And so not only is your body going through a bunch of weird stuff when you're just sitting there while you're moving 80 miles an hour, but you're not drinking water, okay? And so if you don't do that, your energy levels are going to decrease like crazy. Your level of focus is going to decrease like crazy. You're going to be more irritated like crazy. Guys, hydration is so important. And so you need to chug water right when you get there, plus the next morning, and then also when you get back from your trip. I don't know about you guys, but I try to mitigate the downside of like, it's like after you get home from a trip like that, you're like exhausted, right? And so how do you combat that? You combat it with, again, a sweat session right when you get in, from getting home, or making sure you get one the next day, and then also the nutrition and hydration. So those were the I just wanted to give you a couple tactical tips plus the 2 mentality checks that I do on my own. Thank you for those of you who followed me on my Facebook stories. Stacy, I thoroughly enjoyed, Stacy, going back and forth, because I know you were traveling at the same time. Thoroughly enjoyed going back and forth and just kind of shooting ideas off of each other and just encouraging each other. I found that super helpful on my own trip, okay? So mad shout out to Stacy Potenza. You're a rock star, you're freaking awesome. Thanks for tuning in, Megan, Kendra, Katie, Jessica, Stacy, and Kaylee. I will see you guys soon and hope you have a fantastic Monday, all right? Bye.